Drake comes out with like 3 other businessmen, and we don't say anything to him. He doesn't say anything to us, so they bring us in the house.
I got to sit down with one of the biggest legends of the industry, Nadeshot, the original superstar of esports and now the founder of 100 Thieves. We did a 2-hour podcast on my channel. You could check that out. But today we sat down and this is a little more light. So what do you say about the debate of whether or not streaming is harder than a 9 to 5?
Oh my God, Drake, I'm still your biggest fan.
I think he likes you. I don't think he has any.
I don't care if he don't have to. Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
I was wearing Yeezys the entire time, bro.
As always, it's amazing to see Nadeshot. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Welcome to 20 Questions with 100 Thieves, Nadeshot. What's 100 Thieves' secret that nobody knows?
Man, one of our biggest secrets is, I mean, we almost intertwined.
Yeah.
We almost kind of merged.
Literally would have been the biggest thing at the time, yeah.
And that's all I could think about was just the announcement in itself.
Yeah, I honestly wanted that to happen so bad in the moment because I just thought it would be that's when FaZe was like going up to the billion valuation. You guys were like neck and neck with us. Like at that time, dude, the industry's changed so much, it's crazy. But we were very competitive at the time, it felt like.
Yeah.
With creators, with content, esports, obviously you guys were crushing it better than we ever have in esports. And like, yeah, we almost merged.
In my head, it seemed like it made a lot of sense. You know, you guys had, at that time, in my mind, a lot of distribution from like a content perspective. You know, I think starting a team from scratch, parts of it were good, but other parts were harder just because a lot of your guys' creators and the milestones that you hit when like Warzone dropped and then Fortnite dropped, you know, in reverse order. But you guys always caught the wave at the right time and would put the right people in the right positions. And that was something that we sort of struggled with, where in our head, we always try to pitch it as like, oh, we're building the Marvel universe. So we've got a creator, like a superhero that covers a certain part of the story. But it's really hard to make those things intertwine and work in unison together because people don't realize it. And I think we're sort of guilty of perpetuating the culture. But if some creator is doing something really well and they've got their own spotlight on them and they're building up their audience, everybody's like, oh, sign that creator.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it actually means after signing them and how hard it is to accrue value to the brand 100 Thieves from that actual creator. You know what I mean? So I think for like High Ground and Juvie and even the video game that we were working on, FaZe still had like this larger than life aura to it. And you guys had a lot of people that I think would fill a lot of seats that we were looking for our business. And you guys, I think, needed a little help operating the business because, you know, you had 2 groups of people, like the founders and the creators, and then folks that came from like the music industry trying to figure it all out. Yeah. And I felt like we had a lot of stability in running our business. So at the time, I thought it made a lot of sense. It's just harder when there's, you know, shares that have been divided in a million different ways. You raise capital. We had done a couple rounds. Yeah. And it's just hard to make those things and those puzzle pieces fit together.
Yeah, I think every gap that you think we filled, I think you guys filled from our perspective too. The types of creators you guys got were like we couldn't build certain audiences the way you guys did in different pockets of the internet too. It would have been very interesting. Obviously now, who knows? Like, you know, things have changed a lot since then. But in that moment, I think it would have been the announcement itself, like you said, would have been massive.
It would have been interesting.
It would have been 100%. You famously, obviously, worked at McDonald's right before your streaming career. So what do you say about the debate of whether or not streaming is harder than a 9 to 5?
Oh my God.
I got to put you on the spot of all people.
This FaZe Lacey, brother. Did
He's
this
baiting.
question, I know.
Okay.
But people don't realize that.
No, I know. Okay, yeah, you're right? So it comes from a joke.
Yeah.
Right? FaZe Lacey, other people bait it as a joke to get clips. Then it really makes a real debate, though. And some streamers really go back and forth on it.
The work itself is not harder than a 95.
Yeah.
There are, I think you can put it into the bucket of being an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not trying to make streaming sound more important than it actually is when I say entrepreneurial, because I think when I think of entrepreneurs, you know, it's people that are starting businesses and scaling those businesses and really turning something or nothing into something. But streaming really is that in itself. It just, I think since it's creating entertainment and lining your pockets through an audience that everybody wishes they could be doing, when anybody complains about it, and they see what the top 1% creators are actually making from an earnings perspective, that's when it becomes oversimplified. Like, oh, you don't know how easy you've got it. You take it for granted.
Yeah.
It's not harder than a 9 to 5. A 9 to 5, day to day, the work that you do and the money that you make, it is exponentially harder than streaming. But this is the problem. It's like when you hear athletes complain about their schedule or the injuries or dealing with the media, everybody's like, yo, you're getting paid to play basketball.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
I'm in a warehouse at Amazon and I'm just fighting for benefits. The problem is individuals' problems, like, they scale with the money that they make. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as if like the problems get bigger and bigger and bigger, but the problems, although you're making a ton of money and you're doing seemingly from the outside looking in the easiest job that somebody could think that you could do, but it doesn't mean your problems go away. And your brain, your human beings adapt to situations that they're in. So all of a sudden, something that sounds so outwardly amazing and incredible, that's just everyday life for them. And so the problems that they deal with are just as big as if they were working at McDonald's like I was. Like, I have more problems now and I'm more stressed than I ever was while working at McDonald's. That could be attributed to age, more responsibility, or in my mind, I just have more to lose. But they're incomparable but comparable at the same time. 9 to 5 is harder, but just because you're making more money and doing something that might seem easier than anything else you could be doing doesn't mean your problems go away.
What's your biggest paycheck in one day?
My biggest paycheck in one day? From like one day of work?
Yeah.
See, that's a tougher question to answer just because I don't know how to categorize some earnings that I've had in my life, but I stopped doing like brand deals when 100 Thieves started. And I wasn't making money like the creators do now. And I was getting paid a salary. I was making good money working at 100 Thieves as the CEO, but the brand deals basically stopped. And I was doing everything for 100 Thieves. And I would actually say my biggest paycheck was probably, I did a PlayStation virtual reality shoot. It was like going to a studio, like a sound studio stage in LA. I think I got paid like 150 grand for it.
It's a big day.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Yeah.
And things have definitely changed. Like, creators have certainly seen more money than that now. But at that time, and since I took like a hiatus,
it's a lot of money, man.
Oh, I mean, it's inconceivable.
Yeah. No. I mean, I feel you because we see numbers and, you know, someone's getting paid 100 million to stream. It's still a lot of, that's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, trust me, I'm not complaining.
No,
about
I know
that
you're
paycheck,
not. I know you're
but
not.
I wish I wouldn't have bowed out as early as I did. God damn.
I'm with you, buddy. I stopped making YouTube videos a long time ago.
We're like Gen 1 Pokemon, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we were around at the start and...
All right. What was your worst celebrity interaction?
Oh, Drake, for sure.
Really?
Oh, 100%, dude.
No way.
Yeah. No, for sure, Drake. Or Kanye, one of the two. I think it's probably Drake. That's the one that I cringe at the most.
Can you expand on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would love to expand. So,
okay.
I think it was we were raising our Series A.
Yeah.
Our seed series we raised $10 million, and it was primarily an investment from Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Rocket Mortgage. And he had like 3 venture funds that he deployed capital to, and 3 of those came in for the seed series, wrap that up, start building the business. And at that time, we were burning cash, but 100 Thieves was really catching momentum, and we were making a splash. So we had to raise more capital, which was our Series A. Somehow we get introduced to Scooter Braun, and a week later, he comes to the Rocket Mortgage team house in Venice, California, and he had brought up the idea of bringing on other celebrities and other folks that had notoriety to invest in that round. And he's like, oh, I got the perfect guy. So he calls up Future, who's Drake's manager. Literally the next day, like 2 black cars pull up, and it's Scooter and Future. We take him on a tour of the house. So we give him the whole song and dance, the whole story, the whole pitch on 100 Thieves and just esports in general. And Future was like, I think Drake's really going to love this, or something along those lines. But my business partner at the time, he said he had heard stories, and I don't think it's necessarily untrue, but he had heard stories of like celebrities, jumping in on a round, investing, and then not giving about the business. And he really wanted to meet Drake to make sure that he actually believed in it. Me, as somebody who has like incredible amounts of social anxiety, and I don't like meeting somebody unless I absolutely have to, especially as somebody like Drake, who he was like the soundtrack of my hardest years.
Yeah.
Like, not to sound too dramatic, but I'm like, I am a Drake stan.
Yeah.
So I'm like, brother, I don't want to meet this guy. Like, I don't need him to convince me. Like, we'll take the money.
Yeah.
The idea of meeting him sounded cool, but I'm not. I swear on everything, I'll take a lie detector test. I didn't care. I'm just like, the fact that we're getting a check alone is unbelievable. So, business partner at the time, really persistent about it. And then finally, it's time to go meet him at his house in Hidden Hills. And I'm bricks the whole day. Stomach is just doing swirlies. I'm tweaking, brother. I am tweaking. And we get to Drake's house. We pull up the gate, and there's like a full court basketball. They're running pickup, and we get brought up the driveway. We're standing on the basketball court, and Drake is, I think, in the house taking a meeting, and I'm standing out there just looking around, like having an out-of-body experience. Drake comes out with like 3 other businessmen, and we don't say anything to him. He doesn't say anything to us, so they bring us in the house. I go in, and we're just sitting down in the living room. There's like 3 chefs in the kitchen, full bar, full spread, and we're just watching like NBA classics. We're watching like the Sacramento Kings play the Lakers in prime time, like early 2000s. And I'm just looking around, just, again, still tweaking. We get brought into his studio in the house. Drake comes in, and I don't think I stopped talking for about 15 minutes straight. We hand him these hoodies. He takes a look at them, puts them aside. And I want to be very clear. Drake was very easygoing, kind, to let us into his home. But the entirety of that conversation, I don't even know what I said. I basically blacked out with just talking about the entire scene and what we're doing. And if I'm in Drake's shoes, at least that's what I try to think of, he probably doesn't give about what I'm saying. And at a couple moments throughout the conversation, he looks out like the window. So he's sitting across me like this. He's looking out this window over here. Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, like, while I'm talking, like multitasking, what is he doing? So I start looking out there, just, again, tweaking. He was trying to make sure that they didn't start another game of pickup without him. So I'm like, okay, we got to get out of here. Yeah. So I stopped talking. There's some back and forth. And then we end up leaving. And I don't think one productive thing was said. And from there on out, we actually still needed to meet him one more time because we didn't get a photo for the press release, which my business partner really wanted. So we built these damn studio, or these, you know, like, have you ever been to GameStop, like back in the 2000s, and they would have like the, you know, display you could play on? We built 3 of those for his tour because they thought it was a good idea. It was actually pretty cool. Yeah. And we were basically waiting in his green room for the entire show, went and watched it. And we had been to 2 shows prior, waiting for him to come backstage after to say what's up, to grab the photo. And he came and took this photo, dabbed us up. Again, was super, super nice. But it, to me, is like the embodiment of everything that I hate about being like a creator or trying to like draft off of somebody else's success. Because in my opinion, I thought from that day that Drake didn't think 100 Thieves was cool. Yeah. Because we kept trying to force his hand to meet us. When in all actuality, and I still to this day will swear on it, that I was telling everybody, I'm like, guys, it is not cool unless it happens authentically, like through like us winning a Call of Duty championship or doing something crazy in the media. You know, something that would actually make him like, oh, maybe I'll spend even a 0.5% of 100% of my time on, you know, just looking into this and, I'll put some money against that. Let me see what they're up to. Yeah. So he was super nice. Everything I thought and more, but my face is like gets red, like even now just thinking about how embarrassed. It's one of those things you'll remember for the rest of your life.
I think it's only that bad to you, probably. And, you know, it was huge when you guys announced it, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely...
It was worth it. It was worth it when you announced it. Announced it, at least.
I think I've sent him, like, 3 DMs since. At one point, he commented on one of my Instagram reels, like, when we unveiled the compound, and he said, like, oh, the boy's going up or something. And then I'd send him like a DM, like, yo, congrats on this thing. I'll be checking it. Like, did he read it? He reposted me to his Instagram story once when I posted about his new album. That was about it. Drake, I'm still your biggest fan.
I think he likes you. I don't think he has any.
I don't care if he don't have to. I love Drake.
What's the most uncomfortable conversation?
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
I was wearing Yeezys the entire time, bro. And they were, I like my shoes to be on tight.
Yeah.
You know how people lace up Jordans like the cool way?
Yeah.
Bro, I had these things double knotted. I was wearing like skin tight jeans. This guy probably thought I was a dork.
You know what? We should put the picture of Adapt on his Instagram. He recently was streaming and a picture came up. I'm going to put it over so everyone can see it. Everyone went through a phase like that. So, what's the most uncomfortable conversation you had as a pro player?
Uncomfortable conversation I had as a pro player? Probably when we dropped Proofy and Clayster for Crim 6 and Formal. I don't remember the exact gist of the conversation, but all I know is that me and Clay are very similar. We're both kind of tweaks. We also have very strong opinions. And we had played well at certain times of that year. Obviously winning X Games, which is like one of my proudest accomplishments. And we probably could have went on with that team and been just fine. But I love Proofy. I've had my ups and downs with Clay. You know, we're friends to this day. We're not like super close, but I think moving on from that team that was, really beloved by the entire Green Wall, to make a change where, there's probably a world where Proof or Clay staying with Scump would have been better for Crim and Formal and that entire team. But in my eyes, all of esports at that time was really, you got to look out for yourself, and it's all about leverage, about how you can get teammates to come play with you. You're always just trying to upgrade. And so to bring on Crim and Formal at that time, that was like a massive change for the team, and obviously led to us winning a lot of events in AW and them going on to have like the Dynasty.
Yeah.
So I always feel bad about having to move forward from that, but that was probably the most uncomfortable conversation I had as a pro player.
What about your most uncomfortable conversation as a 100 Thieves CEO?
Most uncomfortable conversation I've had the CEO was announcing to the company twice that we were doing layoffs.
You're the one that did it. Yeah.
Well,
you're the
I wasn't
CEO.
in on the individual calls.
Okay, but you did.
My old business partner and our head of HR, who I'm grateful, very grateful, because I don't like confrontation, and I think most people would say that. But if you're going to be the leader of the company, you should have that responsibility. But now that I'm not as involved in the day-to-day, like if I'm grading myself without anybody else's opinion involved, I'm proud of the fact that I even got on those calls. Not proud in a self-serving way, because it's a terrible situation, but that's just not my personality.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never expected or ever wanted to be in that situation, which you could say the same about the people that lost their jobs. I promise you, I'm not trying to diminish who actually had the negative or the short end of the stick there. But getting on in front of the entire company twice over and saying that we have to do layoffs.
Who's your favorite COD teammate of all time?
Can I have two?
Yeah, go ahead.
Favorite teammate all time from a performance standpoint was always Scump, because he made me look better than I was. But my favorite teammate, just who I never argued with, never got into any spits or spats or whatever you want to call it, is probably Formal, because he was super easygoing and just really good. Me and Seth had our ups and downs. Everybody's starting to make money for the first time, testosterone flying. We're all fighting for ourselves. Yeah. We just had some shaky moments throughout our tenure together. So I would say those two folks right there, Formal and Scum.
Are there any creators that you regret not signing to 100T when you had the chance?
It's not necessarily 100 Thieves. There's actually been a couple moments. Like a lot of creators or any folks that have ADHD, I think text messaging and DMs are the worst thing to ever happen to people hardwired that way. I'm not trying to sound like a TikTok where I use ADHD as like my excuse for everything, but I am not somebody who operates his phone well. Yeah. Like I'll read a message and say I'm going to reply to it just like everybody, and then don't reply to it. When we first started 100 Thieves, XQC had reached out about joining the team. Ronaldo had hit me up about joining 100 Thieves, and to be honest with you, I didn't really know those guys that well. And I remember with the XQC thing, I had heard that there was issues when he was competing in Overwatch, some things he said. I swear I don't fully understand it, but I'm like, this is just going to be more difficult for me than anything. So I did ignore it, but it wasn't out of like spite. It was more so I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, besides those two things, you might like to hear this. When we started Juvie, the guy that helped us build Juvie internally was the same guy that signed me to Red Bull back. Guy built out the gaming program with one of his old bosses. His name is Sam King. He's like the nicest, hardest working person you'll ever meet. Before I had my business partner, John Robinson, we had interviewed people to be like the COO and to like really run the business. And Sam King was one of the people that we interviewed. Those guys, the investors at the time, didn't think he had enough experience under his belt to actually scale the business. So we had to, turn away from that. But then years down the road, we start this energy drink, the idea of starting an energy drink. So we call up Sam Keen. So he comes and works, builds up Juvie internally. And in one of the initial like pitch decks that he had for bringing on influencers to help really launch the brand with me, and this was months and months and months and months before his like real big blow up, he had Kai Cenat in the deck. And who knows if we would have been able to sign him, but I didn't know who he was. And me being disconnected from like social media, and you and I talked off camera a little bit about, stepping away from content. You sort of get removed from it. You live with a little bit of regret. I just was so busy with the stress in my head about 100 Thieves every day. I wasn't doing any of the things that I should have been doing, like looking for talent and keeping a sharp eye out, just because I was up in my own head. So I didn't really look into Kai Cenat. I just told Sam, I'm like, yo, some of these are like good ideas. I don't know, but I'd rather just work with people that I know really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it would have turned into, but he had Kai Cenat in a deck long before he like really blew up.
Oh.
So not pursuing that one and having blinders on, I feel some regret to that this day.
If you had to box someone from the gaming industry, who would it be?
I'm getting folded by damn near everybody, bro.
Come on. There's one guy that I can think of.
Who?
You guys have already had a physical altercation in the past.
Oh, eggs? Nah, we don't got beef like that. If I could box anybody, it'd probably be somebody from my chat. I don't know, telling me that I'm washed up. Somebody who's weak, you know what I mean? Like a guaranteed victory.
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter. Not a fighter. I wish I was.
Yeah.
But I'm lazy. I'm uncoordinated, which is why I started playing video games in the first place.
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
Oh. Well, I don't have Drake's number.
You know?
I DM'd him a couple times.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Probably Devin Booker.
Okay.
D Books.
Yeah. Shout out to Devin Booker.
He's actually nice at Call of Duty too.
Yeah.
That's a good dude.
Yeah. What are your top 3 CODs?
Black Ops 2, MW3, the original 2011 release. Honestly, bro, from a gameplay perspective, if it didn't have a lot of the problems it has now, it might be Black Ops 6. I love this game.
Wow.
I genuinely love this game. I love the way it feels. I love the Omni movement. The maps are more to be desired there. But aside from all the issues, I think Black Ops 6 might be in there, bro.
Top 3. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it could be too early, but I really do love the game. Like, just from a pure gameplay, gunplay mechanics.
What are your top 5 pros of all time?
Skill?
Yeah.
Scump, Formal, Karma, Crim 6. Scump, Formal, Karma, Crim 6. And probably got to give it a simp.
I was going to ask.
Top 5's hard
I don't
because
know.
I think there's like 10 people that are all in like S tier.
Yeah, because everybody else is like, they're all still around. They've been around kind of recently. But Simp's obviously the newest out of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people on the cusp of that too. Like
Yeah.
a couple players from 100 Thieves, like Kenny obviously won us a world championship. It's really hard, man. It's hard to compare eras. I think it's just like the NBA with like LeBron and Jordan.
What's a sponsorship deal that you turned down but regretted later?
There's not many of them. I'll damn near do anything. Sponsorship deal that I turned down that I ended up regretting. Probably Red Bull, but caveat, I worked with Red Bull, but they had an opportunity for me to jump out of a plane and deliver the first copy of Destiny, the original release, to like a Walmart in Arkansas. It was like this huge promotional thing. But I watched somebody, this was happening very quickly. They had us, they wanted us to do the required jumps that it took to get certified in like a week time period, right? We went and did the class, and then the next day we were supposed to come back and do our first jump, but they wanted us to do our first jump solo, and I'm like, dude,
What?
I'm not jumping out of a plane without have never done it before. I'm a timid guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just started making money. I ain't going out like that. But I said that I would think about it the night before. This guy named Rob Simpson who was running Red Bull at the time. We go there. I'm not even kidding. To this day, while we're walking up like the runway to go into the warehouse to get these parachutes on, in my mind I had already made up like I'm not going to do it, but I hadn't told him yet. We literally were watching competitive skydivers come down practicing for an event they had coming up, and some guy did like, they call them green, yellow, red turns. And a red turn is when you turn too aggressively at a certain altitude. That's like a no-go.
Yeah.
And somebody turned and crashed into the ground. And they called paramedics, yada, yada, yada. I looked at it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But you know who did? Was Flame Sword, Proofy. And the reason why I bring up Red Bull is because since Mike did the jump, they put him on 50 million Red Bull cans.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to take any shine away from Flame Sword because he's one of the reasons why I wanted to be sponsored by Red Bull in the first place. But if I have it correct, I would have been on the cans if I would have just done the activation.
If you could swap careers with any other creator for a week, who would it be?
And I can pick any time of era that they're for like a week in their career. Probably Ninja, just because his come up and road to success was like Ninja was larger than life, did some really cool, and that would be a fun creator to swap lives with for a week.
What's something that the internet doesn't know about you?
Damn, I'll tell you what's something the internet doesn't know about me? I pretty much share everything now. I'm like an open book.
Yeah, I've seen you're on my TikTok a lot recently.
Oh.
Yeah, just letting loose. I like it. I like this arc.
I listen, man, I've been in the game for so long. I can't be like the cookie cutter, like brand safe guy. I mean, I don't say anything that I think is like would negatively impact me working with a brand, but I'm definitely not, Disney anymore.
What embarrassing moment would you delete from the internet?
Probably all the dancing in Black Ops 2. I'm like going head first on a couch, shaking my just try to keep the chat riled up. Probably all that because I can't dance. I don't have any rhythm. And so I look at it now and I just cringe beyond. I don't even like the word cringe, but I cringe.
Those are like people's favorite moments.
I know. I can't watch any of my old videos though. I can't. I just have an out of body experience.
I feel you. That's why I privated all my YouTube videos.
Smart man.
I hate hearing my voice. Can't look at my face.
Yeah.
So I feel you. What's something that you struggled with behind the scenes that fans would never expect?
Well, like I said, I'm kind of an open book on the internet now, and people know that I'm an overthinker, kind of tweak about pretty much anything. I've talked about it a few times in the last year, just being on stream, but I think the last year that I was fully involved in the day-to-day at 100 Thieves was like the hardest year of my life because I had like so much pressure with a baby on the way, bought a house and just wasn't happy and wasn't comfortable with the amount of decisions that I had to make while helping lead 100 Thieves with the rest of the executive team. I'm not a good manager. I barely manage my own time. I was just under a lot of stress, as everybody is with their jobs, especially folks working at 100 Thieves in this era, just because there's been a lot of ups and downs and a lot of good that's come to the company, a lot of bad. And I just didn't feel like I was the person that should be leading the business at that time. And so, as you know, when you bring on capital and you scale a company, not only does the community rely on you to be the leader, but also just the sheer amount of responsibility that you have for the employees, their day-to-day lives, their personal lives, and then you have like the investors who have put hard-earned money into the business. Then you have all the partners. Just the complexity of it all, I think, took a toll on me that I don't know if anybody will ever understand besides my wife. So that's probably the thing that has been like the biggest stressor in my life thus far in my career.
What's your worst fan experience?
Worst fan experience? Some kid walked up to me at an event back in like 2013, I think it was, or 2014. It was either Black Ops 2 or Ghost era, and asked me if I wanted to go into the bathroom and watch him take.
Okay.
Now, you got to understand, too, this was before, like, trolling on the internet for views was, like, a big thing. So it's not like I could cut through his bullshit, pun intended, and understand if he were joking around or not. To this day, I'll never have the clarity on that. But this guy repeated himself multiple times. I'll never understand or how that came to be, but that was where I just did not know what to do with myself.
Okay.
I was scared.
I hope he's not watching.
And man, I'll tell you what, it really smelled too.
You went in, huh? If it wasn't for gaming or streaming, what would you be doing for a living?
Probably like a used car salesman or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I never had a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us didn't, right? And it kind of paired out well from a time perspective where everything started getting bigger for me right after I graduated high school and went to community college. And I dropped out and just took a swing my sophomore year. So I never really had to get past that initial hurdle of figuring out what am I going to do for the rest of your life. Because I remember every high school teacher was like, you got to figure it out now. You got to have a plan. And I don't plan anything. So I don't know what I'd be doing, but I'll probably be working at a used car lot or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just think that I'd be pretty good at it.
What changed about your outlook in life after you had a child? Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. Picking your partner is damn near the most important decision you'll ever make because my wife is a saint and does everything and anything that our family needs better than I could ever do it. And it's not as easy to live it day to day, but when you have a child, as I'm sure you've heard thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times from parents, nothing else really matters other than your family and making sure your child is as comfortable and as healthy as possible. When you see them for the first time, I always thought it was, to be honest with you, like when fathers would come out of the emergency room, not the emergency room, the delivery room, and say, yeah, it's like this out-of-body experience and this emotion that you've never felt before. I'm like, you got to just be saying that because somebody's about to put this on Instagram. Like, shut up, there ain't no way. But your whole body gets like, I'll never forget it when they cut my wife open because she had to have a C-section because Gracie was in breech. And just the visceral experience you have, like the noises in the room, and I'm just staring at my wife as this baby is like brought up and handed over to us, and it's just like you're watching a rom-com when they do the montage of like all the moments you've spent together, and you've never stared deeper into somebody's like existence, and then you have this thing. It really does put. I don't mean it's this thing like we talk about somebody's kid like it. You know what I mean? You have this thing that just now like everything in your life has been a culmination to that moment right there. And I don't think as a father you truly grasp it because, you know, a woman, they spend 9 months with this baby inside of them and everything they eat, every decision they make, the medicines that they don't take or can't take, and all the decisions for 9 months lead up to that moment. And then, you know, they can breastfeed and they just have like this internal instinct to take care of this baby. I was always fearful, like, well, what if I'm not attached right away? Like, what if I'm not what I'm supposed to be as a father? But all those things are just silenced as soon as you see them, especially if you pick the right partner. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying that people can't have that love for a child if they're divorced or if they weren't in a good place in their relationship when the baby came. But for me, I just can't even fathom having a child without it being with the one person who I love more than anything. Now, two people, but yeah, everything changes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Those are great questions.
Thank you.